Olga. It's really good to see you here. Thank you for giving me your time. Could you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, hi everyone. Hi Mobina. Thank you for inviting me. I'm Olga. I am the CEO and co-founder of Workademy, a Berlin-based startup where we make corporate learning sexy.
That's really cool. So I think today we want to talk about MVP, which stands for Minimum Viable Product. And you today will help me to understand better. Maybe it's better to tell me first what is MVP and why startups, it's really important for startups.
So yeah, MVP, as you said, is minimum viable product. And why is it important? Not only for startups, for any established company, for any organization. It is important because development of a fully functional product is very expensive. And not only it's expensive, but also you cannot be sure that you're building something that people really want. You don't want to spend years of your life developing something, putting all your time and money and resources into something that might not be something that you really need. So MVP for different stages of company and startup can mean a different thing. For example, if you are just starting your startup, maybe you don't even need to build a product. Maybe you just need to have a PowerPoint and do something what your product will be doing manually just to test your idea. If you are an established company, then probably you will actually build a product. But before jumping into what can MVP product look like, let's decipher this MVP thing. So there is this very famous image that MVP, minimum viable product, is like, imagine if you are building a car and you probably will start by building a base of the car, and then you put a wheel, and then you put some chairs. But what it will, if you do it like this, you will only have a car in the end. In any stage of development, you will never have something that you can actually use. So it's advisable to build a skate first, then maybe a bicycle, then maybe a motorcycle, and then a car. So at any stage of development, you have something that you can actually use and try, and don't spend a lot of time and money on the development.
Mm-hmm. So you mean no one expects early stage founders to have a well-functioning product, right?
Maybe someone expects, we don't know, but it's not advisable for early stage founders to put all the effort into building it. First of all, you have to understand your customer.
So what is the purpose exactly of building a minimum viable product?
The purpose is to test, to iterate, to get feedback, and to build more.
And is that necessary to do market research before building the product, or you think we can do it after it?
It's absolutely necessary. And it's like a interchained process. So you ask your customers, then you build something, you ask them again, and then maybe you change something and you build a little bit more, then you ask them again, and it never stops actually. By the end, it might be completely different from what you thought it will be in the beginning, because you have this continuous feedback loop. This is really important.
So what questions should founders ask themselves about the product before building this MVP?
I think it's more not even asking themselves, but asking their potential target audience, getting a group of potential customers and ask about their problems and pains that they believe the product would solve. And maybe not even talk about your product, but trying to get as many pains, or actually not as many pains. Trying to get one pain that many people have is better than getting a lot of pains from different people, because it's difficult to solve them all, right?
Yes, it's right. So imagine that I build my MVP and I test it. So what is the next step?
The next step is, imagine that your tests are great, you have a great feedback and people want to use it. So now you start building your product, and
Okay.
making it bigger and bigger.
Yes. And I think I should collect my customer feedback as well and have a result from them, right? So is there any specific estimation on the time that it should be taken for building an MVP? Or it depends on the product?
I think it depends also on the stage your company is. I've heard, for example, about big, well-established companies, enterprises that would decide to build a product, and they would take like 1 year to build an MVP, because they can. They have money, they have resources. Why not have a luxury of building our MVP during 1 year? I think that early stage startups and founders don't have this luxury. So it's better to have your MVP out as soon as possible. And as I said already earlier, it's not necessarily a really coded product. It can be a presentation, it can be a PDF. For example, imagine that you want to implement a product that somehow helps people build online courses, because it guides users through a methodology of building online courses. Instead of going into and building this complex product with methodology, just write the steps and go to people who build online courses and tell them, hey, look at these steps. If you follow them, would it make it easier for you to build online courses? And iterate over this piece of paper. And when you have the perfect feedback that people actually are able to save their time, or whatever you promise your product will do, then you can start building your like real coded MVP.
Thank you. I heard a lot from different mentors. There also another word which is prototype. Is there any difference between prototype and MVP?
Prototyping can be a stage of MVP. Again, it depends of what is your MVP. If your MVP is just a piece of paper, as I described earlier, then it's the same. It's being prototyping, right? If your MVP is already considerable product where you put some tech and some code and some infrastructure, then prototyping is actually only a small part of this thing, because it's something where you maybe hand draw something, and again, you will get feedback on this prototype before building a real product.
You think who is the best to go and get the feedback? Should it be only mentors or like customers, or a mixture of them?
If mentors are your potential customers, then yes. But the people who you want getting feedback from are your early stage customers. I mean, your potential customers.
Should I also ask my family and friends, or you don't suggest it?
I think you should, but you must be prepared that they might lie to you, right? And for this, there is this great book, maybe you heard about it, which is called The Mom Test. So when you ask your mom questions like, hey, Ma, do you like my product? Of course, she will say, yeah, I love it. And the Mom Test book, it teaches you how to ask questions that even your mom will not be able to lie to you. So instead of asking, hey, do you like this? Maybe ask, hey, mom, when was the last time you used this and what problems did you experience? So don't ask him directly about your product, but rather about some problem that you believe your product will solve. And after your mom honestly tells you about the problems, maybe you can show it to her, not mentioning again that it's your product, and asking if it will solve her problem.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Thank you. There is also another thing which is, I think it's important, which is product roadmap. Can you tell a little bit what is the roadmap? What should we consider when writing it?
So the roadmap is like a journey of your product. There is an MVP, right? Something that works, something that already does something and solves some problem. But then, of course, it should evolve. And this evolution is described in roadmap in forms of features and maybe even tasks and subtasks and milestones when these features will be developed. And again, the roadmap should not be something that you created once and never touch it again, because it will be kind of living organism that depends on your customers' feedback. If all of your customers say that this feature is more important than this, you probably will consider in switching the priorities. So you definitely have to have it, but you should not be afraid of change it.
Okay, thank you so much. What is your suggestion how to build a product that everyone loves? Difficult one. How did you build your own Workademy now? Many customers love it.
First of all, you should love it yourself. Then you have at least one person who loves it. And then I think that it's more important that you have a small segment of people who love it than all people that love some of the thing. I will try to explain it better. So if you have, you will definitely have some USP in your product, something, some particular thing that is different from other competitors. And this particular thing should be something that it's better than a small amount, some very well-defined segment of people loves this particular thing, then a lot of people and every person loves something different about your product, because then you cannot tell what is your USP, what is your differentiator, and this might take time. And this is why talking to customers every day is really important.
You just said USP. Could you please explain also what is USP?
USP is unique selling point. Some raising of your product that is super unique and it's only yours.
Okay, thank you so much. So since our audience are mostly early stage entrepreneurs and they are young, how do you define this entrepreneurial journey, and do you have any advice for them?
Entrepreneurial roadmap, right? So started by talking to your potential customers and asking them about their pains, and don't tell them about your product, because you might build something really different once you realize the real pain of your customers. Iterate a lot on your way. Don't give up, but also don't be afraid of changing things and changing your way of direction. And do sports, because doing sports It's very beneficial for your head, and it helps a lot on this emotional roller coaster of founders to
Mhm.
keep yourself sane and not go to the crazy road.
Okay, then thank you so much. It was great to talk to you. I'm sure that audience will enjoy it as well. And yeah, looking forward to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mabina. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.